How is it going, folks? Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this resource pop-up UI. Check the Discord link below, which then gives you access to this wood texture that we're going to be using in this video. But if you're interested in getting the script right out the gate, make sure you check out my Patreon. I upload all my files that I have, but I added a little bit extra to the script to make it a little bit easier to implement in your projects. But other than that, let's get into the tutorial. You're going to want to start with making a new folder and call it textures. Then click on the link below in the description, which will take you to the Discord server so you can get this free wood texture that we are going to be using for this. You can drag and drop it into here. And you know it's all set up when you just see logs image and you double click it and it's just this wood PNG. Now to actually make this, we do want to first set up on how it's all going to look. So go ahead, go into user interface and then do widget blueprint. We're just going to click user widget to start this off, and then we can just call this wood pop-up. Go ahead, drag and drop a canvas panel, and then make this a 1920 by 1080. We're going to first start off with a stack box, so you can go ahead and drag and drop that into your scene. And for our anchors, we're just going to be setting those to 0.5 for all of them. And we're going to do the exact same thing with alignment. And now we're going to add a couple more things by adding an additional stack box inside of it. And then for this, we're going to be having two things. We're going to be having the icon, so you can go ahead and click image and drag and drop it under your stack box right here. And then we're going to go ahead and do UEFN text block. We're going to put right under it as well. And it should look something like this. The biggest thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and change this to 55 by 55. That is the size we're going to be using. And then go to the stack box. We actually can change this up really quick. If you go to the main stack box that we originally added, we can do something that's pretty simple. And that's going ahead and actually changing the size of it. So what we're going to do is go ahead and change this to 189 by 60. As you can see, it will then make this a lot larger, and you might be wondering what's up and how do we fix this text. The main way we're going to do that is by centering it like this, and as you can see, it looks great, and then we're just going to position it where exactly we want this to be. So go ahead, make sure you just grab it from the stack box right here. You also can go ahead and lock all this, which I'd actually recommend doing, because it makes it a lot easier to move around with. And so for this tutorial, I do want to actually have it so that this will actually start at a random position and then we'll rise up a little bit. So it doesn't really matter exactly the position. All we have to keep in track is this X position and Y position, because that's what we're going to be mainly using for the script. But now that this is all done, you actually can see how this looks by unlocking the image slot and then go ahead and searching log, and you can put in the log image. As you can see, it's huge, and the reason why is because this actually shifts when you add in a new picture. So we're going to fix that again by doing 55 by 55. And as you can see, it looks great. So yeah, let's go into the verse code now so we actually can get this to function correctly. Then the pretty simple way of doing this is going into your verse explorer and creating a new verse file. But if you don't actually see this, and if you're just closed out and it's just like this, click verse and then do verse explorer right here. As you can see, and it just makes it a lot easier to add verse files. Right click it, then add a new verse file to project. The most important part of making these scripts is then actually having a good name for it. So we're going to call it material pop-up. Very simple name. We're just going to create it. We're not going to have it being empty. And so this can be a pretty simple way we're going to actually work on this. You can go ahead and double click to open the script. Now that you have your script open, we're going to assign a new variable, which is going to be a trigger. So do @editable. This will allow us to be able to put in any trigger we want at any time through the details panel. And we're just going to call it pop up trigger. And what we're going to do is we're just going to call the trigger device. And this allows us to just use any trigger device, this little thing here. So we now will be able to get a trigger device. Also, you can be able to delete these if you want. You don't require them. And we're also going to delete these and these. All right. So all we're going to do on beginning is grabbing our pop-up trigger. And what we want to do is get the triggered event, which if you don't know really what you can use with a trigger device, or any device for that matter, go ahead and hold control and click on the device you want. And you can see it actually says triggered event, but you also can trigger it. This just helps a lot when you're doing like vending machines, item spawn events. It's a lot easier to be able to go through and not have to keep going back and forth through the documentation website. But back to this, we're going to go ahead and then add parentheses, and we need a subscribe function. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a pop-up trig function. And because the thing is, they actually pass if it's a possible agent. So we're going to just type in possible agent. And void equals. And now we can be able to grab this, copy, and paste it into our subscribe event. And it now does work. But we do need to actually see if this is a real agent. So what we're going to do is we're going to do if real agent. And we are literally just going to check if this possible agent truly is an actual agent. And if it is, we are then going to open a UI function. And we're going to put in our real agent. And then right here, we are going to put in an integer value. But just so you know, you actually can be able to adjust this value to anything. So you can put this as any value. You can even grab a player data to be able to put any number for this. And now we're going to create another function and we're going to call it open UI agent. And we're going to be getting the agent that we're putting in here. And then we're also going to do the pop-up currency. And we're just going to have this be an integer value, because that's the one that we put in before, and we'll make this a lot easier for everyone. And just at the moment, so we actually don't have anything that's going to create this UI, so we're just going to do a return function at the moment. But for now, we can actually start to create the function that's going to pop up the UI. So now let's create another function here, new class, and we'll just call it pop-up. Very simple name. We're just going to create a new class. And for this, we're going to have a couple things. We are going to need a main canvas for the player. We are also going to need... I also spelled canvas wrong. So let's do that. And as you can see, it has a red underline because we're not actually using this. So go and Control C, Control V that. And as you can see, now it works. And we're also going to do a couple more things. So we're going to do the text box. This is what the actual text is going to be, because the main thing is that we actually need to display this text. And we're going to have the default text color to be white. And as you will see here, we need to also use the Fortnite UI here. And we also do need to use the named colors function right here. Perfect. And now we also have to get a couple values. So as we remember before, when we went into our script over here, not our script, but our widget UI, we do want to be able to get the position, but we do want a random position every time. That is our biggest goal, is that it's going to be a random position. So as you can see, we have an X and Y value on the top right. We're going to be creating a variable for a random X position, and it's going to be a float variable. And we're also going to be doing a random Y position. We'll see why in a second. Next, we're going to need a stack box as well. So we're going to do var stack box name stack underscore box. And we're just going to be putting in these curly brackets the orientation that we wanted for it. So we're just going to do that orientation. And that's just going to be dot vertical. There we go. Okay, so, and we also do want it, so we are going to be having a max Y, and what that is going to allow us to do is we are going to be able to allow for the actual like resource to be able to rise up. So if you remember before, we want it to rise up a little bit after it spawns, and that's why we're going to be having a max Y position. But going back into it, we're also going to be having this function, which I personally have a shortcut for it. If I type message, it will pop this up. Go ahead, pause the screen and go ahead and copy this in. I'm actually going to be zooming in here a bit more for the rest of the code because it's a little bit more strenuous to be able to see. And yeah, so let's work with the rest of it. So now we're going to be adding a pop-up UI. And what we're going to do is we are going to pass in the agent that we got, if you remember before. We're going to pass in the agent, and then we're also going to bring up the currency amount as an integer. And now we can do a void. And what we can do is grab this text box over here. And then we can set the text. And we actually can use our string to message function that we have here, string to message. And if you didn't know, if you actually have parentheses like that, what you can be able to do is you actually can put some of these brackets here, and you can put in any value. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the text box to the currency amount, because you can convert the int into a string. Very simple. I'd very much recommend using that with a lot of projects. But now this is going to be the harder part, and that's actually getting the random values. So we're going to go ahead and create this function here that we're going to be checking if our agent is a player. And so what we're doing with this is we're actually getting the player function of the agent, and we are wanting to get the player UI. And now that we're finished with that, we're going to go ahead and go to the next line. And this is where we're going to set all of our variables, and this will be a lot easier than you'll think. So we're going to go ahead and set random x equals get random float. And I already have all the numbers up, so you actually don't have to go back and check. But so it's minus 850, no, to 845. That is what I'd personally recommend for that. And you're going to see we're getting an error again. That's because we're not using the verse random function. There we go. As you can see, we forgot to put a decimal point there. And now we can go ahead and actually just copy this over to make our life a little bit easier. We're going to make this a y variable, and we're just going to go ahead and do 489. And then we're going to do positive 489. So we had negative and now we have positive. That's what we're doing for the y value. And now this is going to be the hardest point, and that is that we're going to be starting to actually work on the UI. But before we do that, we are going to set the max y to be basically higher by 50 pixels. So now that's all set. It's time to actually start to work on the actual canvas UI, and this is going to take a majority of the time. But just stick with me through it, and you'll get it done pretty fast. So now we're going to be creating the UI. And this is going to be the random x variable that we have. And we have the random y variable that we also have. And this is going to be a canvas that we're going to be soon returning. And that's why we have this function here. So we're going to set the stack box name, which is this variable right here. We're going to be setting it to a stack box function. But as you can see, we don't actually have a stack box function. So we're going to create one right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a stack box function like this. And this is just going to be a stack box that we're going to be returning. So that's what you have to put for here. And all it's going to do is return the stack box that we are going to give it. And what we're going to do here is then put in the orientation. So doing this, and then setting the orientation to vertical. And now we can go back in. And then this is where we're actually going to be creating our slots array. And so what this object is, it's actually going to be these objects in here. So the image and also the text block. So let's start to work on that now. So for this is actually going to just be the full UI. And so we're just going to create a stack box underscore slot and horizontal alignment. I can be able to actually show you all of this that we're writing right now. As you can see, then we have vertical alignment. This will be fill. I'm just doing this for a little bit ease of use. Alrighty, so now I'm going to show you why I actually wrote this code here. We're going to pop up here, and we're going to click on the stack box. We have it locked right now, but let's open it up. This is all this is. So fill horizontal. We are actually going to be having it so it's left aligned, and it's going to be fill, so it's going to be up and down. That is all we just put in there. I know it's very confusing. And then orientation, you can see we put as horizontal. We will actually be showing you why we did that. because this is vertical and this is horizontal. Very, very big difference. So yes, let's get on to the rest of the script. So now this is going to be the part that's a little bit tricky. And if you'd like a full guide to UI, you can definitely let me know down below if that's something you're interested in. And maybe I can make a tutorial of that in the future. So now this is going to be our overlay slot, and this is going to be for our icon and text. That's why I put a comment here. And we're just going to put widgets, stack_box. And we're going to do orientation. Yeah, orientation. Horizontal. All right, awesome. Okay, so we just set the orientation for the stack box. So now we can just do slots array. And this is actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to have our icon here. So let's make a stack box _ slot. And we're going to make a widget. And if you remember before, we already created one for the text, but we haven't made one actually for the image. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create texture _ block. And we're going to create a default image. And that is going to be textures dot. And the way we're grabbing this actually is going into the editor right now. We're going into textures and we're going to want the logs image. So go ahead and go back into your script and do textures dot log image. You might get an error right away. That might be because this isn't actually built, or it's actually because we misspelled it. It's actually logs. Awesome. All right, it's all set up now. And we need that default desired size as well, or else this just won't work very well. Size equals vector 2. We're going to be getting an error here as well, but it's okay. The only reason why we are is because we are currently not actually having it implemented where we can use vectors. So if you go into here, we have to use spatial math. Go ahead and grab that right up here. All right, so now we're going to create the text, and you're going to notice a similar fashion. We're doing a stack box slot, and for this we're going to be making a widget, but we're going to be using one we already have, which is the text one. So go ahead and do the text box up here, text box. And now we just need some basic stuff, padding. This allows for a little bit of margin on the left side. I definitely recommend doing so. You don't have to, but it definitely just looks a little bit better. Horizontal alignment dot fill. And for vertical alignment, as you can see, we're going to get a couple of these. This we're going to be center. Make this a capital A and this an H. All right, so horizontal. No, we do need the vertical. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this. Okay, awesome. All right, now it's all set. And now, so we're all done with the text and the widget. Now we're gonna go in here, and then this is gonna be for, what's it called? This can be for the main stack box. So do padding, margin. Do left equals 30.0, and then right. It's also gonna be 30.0. And don't worry, we're almost all finished with this section, which in my opinion is definitely the hardest one. And this is also going to be center, so we're just going to copy and paste this for ease of use. And now you're all finished with the basic stack box function. Again, I know this was definitely a lot at first, but don't worry about it. We're almost finished with the basics. All right, so what we're gonna do now is go ahead and make a new canvas. And basically all we're putting in is that canvas slot that we had before. So the thing is though, we actually have to place the stack box. So the way we're gonna do that is by grabbing a couple things. So first off, we need to put some anchors in, and the anchors are those things that we put in at the very beginning. You will see that we're going to be using them. I actually have it pulled up on this side here, so I'm just going to copy and paste them in, and you can just do that. Awesome. And the offsets, this is the biggest part that you're gonna have to check out. But what we're gonna do is have it on the left side is gonna be my random X, because left is basically just the X position, while top is just the that's the Y position. And we do need a couple more things, so we need right and bottom. Okay, so for right and bottom, what we're going to go ahead and do is basically, this is just the size of it, and I found the best size is 189, and then this is just 61.0. That's just what I found to be the best. It might not be, but this is what I personally found to be easiest. And then alignment, we already did before, and all that is going to be is the vector 2. X equals 0.5, Y is 0.5 as well. Awesome. And then we're going to be doing size to content equals true. And the actual widget we're putting in this is the stack box name that we have right here. Awesome. As you can see, we are getting an error here, and that's actually because we did this little mishap here. Put a equals sign on the right side of here. And the reason why we're getting this error here is because we didn't actually justify which one's the anchors and which one's the offsets. So what we're going to do here is just do that, and this will just be offsets. Awesome. But then, as you can see, offsets actually gives you an error. That's because it's actually called margin. I don't know why they do this, but this is how it works. Now this can be the hardest part of it all, and that's creating the spawn function. So we're gonna go ahead and make a new function here. So we're gonna do spawn, and it's gonna be move resource. All right. And at the very end, we're gonna want to also return my canvas, because we do need to actually return the canvas that we have up here. But now you might be wondering, what is the move resource? And that is a function that will just allow us to be able to move this all over the place. So this will be able to move just straight up. So going into it, we're gonna go ahead and then go down here and create a new void called move resource. It has the suspends on it, and it's a void. Right, so now we're going to be doing a quick loop here, and it's going to be if the random.y is actually less than, or in this case, yeah, it's going to be less than the max y. It's less than or equal to the max y. What we're going to want to do is then we're going to want to sleep for as little time as we literally can, so 0 seconds. We are going to quickly hide. That's set visibility. We're going to go ahead and set the visibility, and we're going to make it hidden. All right. And now we're going to want to also main canvas. We're going to want to remove the widget. All right. So we're hiding it at first, and then we're instantly deleting it. The reason why is because we don't want the player seeing it constantly choppingly going up, or even worse, it just kind of smears on the screen, which we definitely don't want. And then what we're going to do here is that if the random y is actually greater than the max y, that's not good. We need that to go straight up, because what we're doing right now is we're actually just deleting the object if it surpassed our max y value that we already gave. So we're going to do a sleep function again, and we're going to set the random y minus equals 3.0. I found to be a great speed, and we're going to update location random y. You might be seeing, what is random location? That is another new void we're going to be making. I know it is not very fun to have to keep doing this, but we're almost done with this whole project. We're going to go ahead and use the y value for the float, and the reason why is because we're going to be grabbing the same random x, but the new changed y. So what we're going to be doing is going into stack box name, and we actually can just copy this here. We're going to make it hidden, visible, right here. And the reason why is because right here, we're going to main canvas dot remove widgets, and we're going to do a stack box name. Okay. And the reason we're doing this is because we're actually making a new one. So you will notice though, if you have a lot of these on screen, it can be a bit glitchy, and that's why we actually have it so it's a little bit lower and won't go on the screen as much. But now we can do this, main canvas dot add widget. But now all you gotta do is copy this code up here, copy that, do this, and just Control V. As you can see now, it works great, but you might be seeing, what is all these functions? We have to put this random y, and then we still have this random x variable that for some reason isn't like visible at the moment. And that's because we're not using my random x anymore, we're using our current random x. And that's why it's not working. Awesome. Alright, it's all finished up for this area. Now, it looks like that is all we really have to do. The next part is really just adding it to our player. So let's go ahead and make that right now. And it's very simple. All I have to do is in this function, all I have to type is new pop-up. And go ahead and just go through that pop-up void that we actually recently made, that new class that we made. Alright? And all we're going to do is grab the new pop-up dot add pop-up UI. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our agent and the pop-up currency. And now your script is all finished and you can try it out right now. Let's go ahead and do some bug testing and make sure it actually is all working. Go ahead, hit Control S, and then click Control Shift B on your keyboard. And if you go into here correctly, it should not have your material pop up. Drag and drop that into your scene. And we're going to need a trigger. So go into here, search trigger, drag and drop this trigger device right here. And this is where we're going to see if it actually works. Go and do this. And we're just going to launch the session, and I'll get back to you once it loads in. Now let's go ahead and try out the code to see if it works. And when you go on the trigger, you'll notice nothing happens. And you'll see exactly why right now. Go ahead and open up the script that we just made. And what we need to do is we have to actually do a couple things. First thing is actually making the UI that we created. That's by putting our random x variable and random y variable in. Awesome. All right. So we just made the UI. And now we also need to add that UI to the player. And now, if you go ahead and type that all in, you will see, hit Control S, go back into here, end the game, and then hit Control Shift B. It will then build the code. And while you're in the session, you can just click push verse changes right here. You'll then load back into the game. Walking up to the trigger will actually trigger the UI HUD. You will see it on your screen. And again, you can make this last longer. I can show you how to make it last a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and make this, for example. Let's make it to 150. So 3 times the length that's going to stay alive for. We can just build the project again. And technically you could put it through a variable here to be able to change it anytime you want. Of course you can. Pretty simple. But just for now, we're just going to be editing it through the script. And now we can go ahead and click on here. You'll see it rises and takes a lot longer, which is pretty awesome. And that's about it. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like, and I'll catch y'all next time.